Shana Tova. I often experience a great rush of optimism in the fall. The insights born of the days of awe, the sense of possibility that comes with the start of every new school year, the pumpkin spice everything, which I confess I'm a sucker for. This year, though, the optimism feels a little harder to come by. Can we really be looking at another year of masks and lockdowns, quarantine and fear? I suspect I'm not the only one who's feeling a certain sense of disorientation and even despair. I was recently talking with my friend Rabbi Sari Laufer of Stephen Wise Temple in Los Angeles about the challenges that she and I and all of us are facing. She shared some insights that have stuck with me these past few weeks, and I'd like to share them with you. Sari pointed out that the single most prominent instance of disorientation this year came not actually from COVID, but from a challenge that few, if any of us, have actually faced. On July 27th, Simone Biles pulled out of the team and individual all-around final at the Tokyo Olympics, explaining that she literally could not tell up from down. She was suffering, she explained, from the twisties. Not just a funny word, the twisties are when a gymnast loses their sense of space and dimension in midair, even if they've performed the same trick again and again and again thousands of times. It is a disconnect between the brain and the body. Muscle memory fails, and even an elite gymnast like Biles can find themselves hurtling through the air, unsure of their location or their destination. Suddenly, they do not know where or how or on what body part they're going to land. So here we all are this year, suspended in midair, wondering if that wedding we've scheduled is going to happen, if that trip is going to take place, if our kids are going to reconnect with their grandparents who live far away, wondering if our business or our kids' education will ever recover from this disruption, wondering if we can work again, and wondering if we want to, if the challenges and stresses of the job we had are worth it. We don't know when or where or on what body part we're going to land. We all have the twisties. Now, we might not pull off triple doubles on our floor routines, but we move through this world with more grace or less, sometimes far from where we started, sometimes far from where we thought we were going to be. We don't need a global pandemic, or the terrifying reality of climate change, or that lurking possibility that our government might fall into the hands of fascists. We don't need all of that to realize how unsure we really are about the future. Like a gymnast flying through the air, we find ourselves wondering where and how are we going to land? Turns out, there's no magic cure for the twisties, for that sense of disorientation. That's why Biles had to step out of the Olympics. Gymnasts, it seems, recover from the twisties by doing three things: taking time, going back to basics, and working on soft surfaces. Perhaps all of us with the twisties would be well served to do the same. In one of the Torah's most miraculous moments, the Holy One reveals the divine face to the prophet Elijah, not in the fire, not in the earthquake, not in the shattering rock, not in the wham-bam pyrotechnics that we imagine, but in the kol damadaka, the soft murmuring voice that Rashi explains emerged from the silence of Elijah's own heart. Do we listen to our own hearts? Do we remember how? Can we return our focus to that soft place, the one under all of our armor, and listen to the stillness of our own hearts? Soft surfaces alone, however, don't cure the twisties. Elite gymnasts like Biles also have to return to basics, which might involve cartwheels and somersaults, basics that at least I can't possibly imagine doing. But we earthbound mortals have our basics as well. The simple things that can easily get lost in all of the important things that must get done. When we welcome a new baby to the world, We wish them a life of Torah, chuppah, u'masim tovim, learning, love, and goodness. In this twisted time that we're all living in, can we focus on learning the things that matter? Learning about our own hearts, our communities, the world we live in? Can we focus on strengthening love we have for ourselves and for each other? Can we be a good, positive presence in the lives of the people around us? Can we get back to our own basics? How much of what we do on any given day could reasonably be thought of as advancing Torah, chuppah, u'masim tovim? And to the extent that we're not working on those basics, perhaps this coming year is a year when we should. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, gymnasts recovering from the twisties know that it will take time. What would it mean for us to take time? And where exactly would we be taking it from? Perhaps now, when we are all aware of just how little time we actually have, we can take some of our time back from the people and institutions that squander our time, from our own mental and digital habits through which we waste so much time. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel reminded us that time was and is the ultimate form of wealth in human society. It is our most valuable, non-renewable resource, and we so often give it away for nothing. Can we slow down? Can we do less? And in so doing, perhaps live more? So much was canceled in this past year, so much that was precious. But among the things that were canceled were pointless meetings and unpleasant social obligations. For the few weeks this summer when it seemed that we might be returning to normal, I became acutely aware of how much of normal I didn't really miss. At least some of what has been lost was draining, not nourishing. One of my absolute favorite poems is Can You Imagine by Mary Oliver, in which she ruminates on what the forest is like when we aren't looking. She writes, "Surely you can't imagine they just stand there, loving every minute of it, the birds or the emptiness, the dark rings of the years slowly and without a sound thickening, and nothing different unless the wind, and then only in its own mood, comes to visit. Surely you can't imagine patience and happiness like that." Could we slow down, take time, and perhaps imagine patience and happiness like that? During these holidays, and I'm sure again and again in this coming year, we will be suspended in the air, in between where we were and where we need to be, unsure of where or how or on what body part we're going to land, unsure of whether we should keep going or somehow pull back if only we could figure out how. We will all have the twisties this year, and when we do, may we remember to work on soft surfaces, go back to basics, and take the time we need. And may we all this year land safely. Shana Tova.
Va'asu li mikdash, v'shachanti betocham. Build for me a holy place, that I may dwell within you, among you. So take a moment to create that sacred and holy space as we welcome Shabbat and the beginning of the Yamim Noraim, the days of awe. V'asuli mikdash v'shachanti betocham v'asuli mikdash ושכנתי בתוכם. We continue on page 3 in the Machzor. Barachi nafshi et Adonai, Barachi nafshi et Adonai, Barachi nafshi et Adonai, Barachi nafshi et Adonai. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Page 5, the call to prayer. Baruchu et Adonai Hamevorach, Baruch Adonai Hamevorach, Leolam Va'ed. Umavir Yom, Umevi Laila, Umavdihu Ben Yom Uvin Laila, Adonai Tzvaot Shemo, El Chai V'Kayam Tahamidim Lo Chalenu Leolam Va'ed, Baruch Ata Adonai, Maariv Haravim. Page 6, Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu lemadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu, b'shochveinu u'vekumeinu, nasiach bechukecha. V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha, le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu v'yorech yameinu, v'yorech yameinu, uvahem nehege yomam v'layla, yomam v'layla, ve'avatacha al tasir mimenu le'olamim, Baruch ata Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Turn to page 8. ולמלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל, לך אנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ויאמרו כולם, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדור בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה, זה אלינו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. We turn to our prayer for peace on page 9 in your Machzor. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, ve'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, ve'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shalomecha, baruch ata Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. We continue on the top of page 9. On the top of page 10. Tiku v'chodesh shofar b'kesel hayom chagenu, ki chok leYisrael u'mishpat leElohei Yaakov. So before we begin the Amidah, we take a moment to think of those three sections, the wows, the pleases, and the thank yous. So after the Chatzi Kaddish, the words to the Amidah, if you'd like to use the words in this Machzor, begin on page 11. Or you may just meditate and use your own words that are in your heart for the wows, the pleases, and the thank yous. as we begin this year. Chatzi Kaddish on page 10. Yitgadal vayitgadash Shemei Rabbah Be'alma divrach hirutei Ve'yamlich malachutei Bechayechon uvyomechon Uvachayid chol Beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizeman kariv ve'imeru amen yeheshmei Rabba mevorach le'alam u'lalmei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitrum v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal shemei dekudesha berichu le'ela le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran v'alma v'imeru amen. Adonai sifatai tiftach Ufia gita hilatecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha ve'al kol Yoshvei Tevel. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha ve'al kol Yoshvei Tevel. shalom rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. B'sefer chaim beracha v'shalom u'farnasa tova nizacher v'nikatev lefanecha anachnu v'chol amcha beit Yisrael לחיים טובים ולשלום. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום. קדיש שלם, page 19. יקדל ויקדש שמי רבה, ועל מה דברי חיותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ובמייכון ובחי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו, אמן, יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה, בריחו לעילה, לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, זעמירן בעלמה ואמרו, אמן, תתקבל צלות הון ובעד הון, דכל ישראל קדם ובהון דיבי שמיה ואמרו, אמן, יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן, עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום. עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ויאמרו amen. We turn to page 25 for the Aleinu. עלינו לשבח לדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ועושה הארץ, ומשה ויקרא בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום להשבותה אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מבטחת אין עוד, על כן יקבל לך אדוני אלוהינו לראות מהרה בתפארת עוזך, והעביר גלילים מן הארץ, ואלילים קרות יקרו עיתון, לתקן על המלכות שדך ונבסה יקרו וישמך. ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו So for those who are remembering loved ones, if you have a yahrzeit or are in mourning, Kadisha Tov, Mourner's Kaddish on page 26. Please stand and recite with me. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehe Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'alam Ulalmei Almaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yit'aleh V'yithalal Shemei Dekudesha B'richu Le'ela Mikol Birchata V'shirata Tushbachata V'nechemata Da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehe shlama Rabba min Shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Amen. So may the memories of our loved ones be a blessing to us. So we end with Psalm 27 on page 27, Achat Sha'alti, wishing all of you Shana Tova. Achat Sha'alti me'et Adonai Ota Avakesh. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai ota avakesh. Shivti beveit Adonai kol yamei chayai Lachazot benoam Adonai ulvaker behechalo Lachazot benoam Adonai ulvaker